I honestly don't know why I make videos like this because I'm about to just freak myself out. Hey y'all. So I was supposed to film a video yesterday and I ended up having really bad cramps because I'm a girl. Believe it or not, I know it's crazy. And so I spent all day yesterday watching YouTube videos and basically just pitying myself in my office, which I feel like I needed a day off because I have been working really hard since I got home and I haven't really had a day where I just sat and did nothing. And so I asked Kayla to stream yesterday because I wanted something to watch. So she streamed last night and I don't know how we got on this topic, but Kayla told us a story about this Tinder date. And so I'm gonna relay the information to you. If I can find the article or if I can find, I think it was on a podcast, I'll link it down below. I don't know if this is true or not. We didn't really figure that out yesterday, but it's terrifying nonetheless. So basically, this girl went on a Tinder date and they were out eating or they were getting drinks or something and she started to feel a little bit sick. So she told the guy and he was like, oh, okay, I'll take you home. And then on her way home, she felt a little bit better. So she invited him inside for a cup of coffee. And then while they were inside, she felt sick again. So she was like, all right, you gotta go. I'm gonna go to bed. And then in the middle of the night, she woke up and she could hear somebody in her living room. So she called the police and she was like, there's somebody in my house. And so the police were like, do you know who it could possibly be? Is it somebody that you know? And she was like, well, I was on a date earlier, so it might be him. He might still be here, but he shouldn't be here. There's no reason for him to be in my house. So the police go and they grab her and she was like, I want to see what he was doing in the living room. So she goes down there and this man pulled a Dexter and he literally covered her entire living room in saran wrap. Like this man was about to like slice this bitch up. I don't know if you guys have seen Dexter, but that's like basically the premise of the whole show. I'm busy. Basically like the premise of the whole show. It's like he kills bad guys, so I guess it's not really the same because he's just killing an innocent girl. But he kills bad guys and he covers the room in saran wrap so that it's an easy cleanup, basically. Can you fucking imagine just going on an innocent Tinder date with a guy who's like really sweet, really charming? You start to feel a little bit sick, so you're like, okay, let's cut the date short. And then you wake up in the middle of the night after you've been drugged by this lunatic. I've never used that word in my entire life. And the police are like, yeah, this man wrapped your entire living room in saran wrap and he was gonna cut you up. So that basically just got me thinking about horrible Tinder dates. I've never really been, I don't think I've ever been on a Tinder date. I've met up with one guy from Tinder. That's it. Or I think I've met up with two guys. One of them was for a video. The other was a mistake. But then I just decided to freak myself out further and go on Reddit and look up let's not meet Tinder stories. So basically this whole video is just gonna be Tinder horror stories and I'm never gonna wanna see another man in my life ever again. But let's get started. There was also another thing we were talking about last night. It was about the Poughkeepsie tapes or Poughkeepsie tapes. I don't know how to say it, but if you guys never heard of them, it was like this real shit that went on. That's why it freaks me out too, because I know stuff like this could happen. So whether that first story was real or not, it's still fucking terrifying because it's totally something that could happen. But I remember watching and hearing about the Poughkeepsie tapes when I was like, dear God, in like fucking middle school, elementary school, I don't know. It was a very long time ago. It was like this person who would kidnap and torture people and he would film the entire thing. And he did it for a decade without being caught. But they made a movie about it. There's one video on YouTube that you can find. I don't think it's real because I can't imagine that it would still be up if it was real, but it is so fucking creepy. It's like this guy in a mask and he's just crawling forward and he like goes up to this lady who's duct taped. Oh my God, I hate it. I hate it so much. And I hate that it actually happened. It was a thing that happened. But yeah, we were watching a bunch of creepy shit last night on Kayla's stream. So here I am, trying to scare myself more. So I have 3 Tinder stories to read and they're all terrifying. I tried to skim them because I didn't want just like somebody who was weird, like I don't know, somebody who was just like a little bit off. I wanted like real shit, like real horror story shit. And so I think I found some. This one says, to my troubled Tinder date, let's not meet again. I'll have all the stories linked down below as always. They said, I met a guy on Tinder and we really started to hit it off. We'd been chatting for a few weeks and even discovered we had a few mutual friends. I was pretty intoxicated one night and was feeling social, so I decided to call an Uber to his place. Once I got there, we talked outside for a while and ended up vibing even better in person. Also, I left my air conditioning on this time because a lot of you guys were yelling at me for always saying I have to turn my air off because we're all like, we can't even hear it anyways, it doesn't matter. So I'm leaving my air conditioning on. So when you hear it turn on and off throughout the entire video, then you'll complain. And then I'm gonna just keep it off for the rest of my life. And if you can't hear anything, then that's weird as shit because I can always hear it in my videos. Like I can hear it when I'm editing, so if y'all can't hear it, that's crazy. Nuts. I opened up to him about my health problems, and he opened up to me about his older sister who had passed away from a similar condition to mine. I was curious about his sister, but I definitely didn't want to pry. That would scare me even more. I'd be like, I have this health condition. He's like, yeah, that killed my sister. I'd be like, okay. We walked into his house, and it smelled like 1,000 dead rats were rotting under the floorboard. I was still pretty drunk, so I tried to forgive it because, hey, sometimes animals die under a house or in the walls, and there's nothing you can really do about it. I started to look around, and the whole house looks like a clustered storage unit. He takes me to his room, which is seemingly normal, kind of feminine, but that's cool, and we hook up. I ended up falling asleep there and woke up around 10 a.m. to the stench of death. I opened my eyes feeling very sober and started to look around the room. I noticed that only girls' clothes were hung in the closet. I started to assume I'd probably been cheated with. Then I see a giant black binder on the nightstand. When he woke up, I decided to jokingly ask him what's in that giant binder. Turns out it was every single episode of Golden Girls printed out. He said he read it at work and it's the only show he'll ever watch. Okay, I asked him what he did for work, something I definitely should have known by this point, and he dodged the question. I sat up and looked at the pillow I'd been cozily sleeping on. It had no pillowcase and was covered in what looked like to be old blood. That is fucking disgusting. Dude, I literally wash my sheets if somebody sits on my bed. No. It looked like the blood had been coughed onto it. I started putting the unpleasant pieces together. I asked as sensitively as I could, "Hey, was this your sister's room? I noticed the clothes in the closet." He says, "Yeah, and this is her bed. I haven't changed or washed anything. It just makes me feel better to be in her bed. His fucking sister died in that fucking bed." Stop. This is actually where I held her when she died, and you remind me so much of her. I really, really like you. This is what I mean. People are insane. And then casually tried to hook up with me. He didn't just drop unsettling as fuck news. I felt immensely sorry for him, but needed to get out of there. I made some excuse and I left. I'm sorry, but I wouldn't even feel bad at that point. I'd be like, we just had sex where your sister literally died. How do you even comprehend that? Ever. I decided to not entirely ghost him because of how bad I felt for him. He was clearly dealing with some really dark shit. We kept in contact for a few weeks until I went on my Find My Friends app and I noticed that he had clearly taken my phone while I was asleep that night and shared my location with himself. I called him and went off. This was not my first rodeo with a stalker type, and I was not dealing with it. He told me he couldn't believe I thought he would do that, and I'm being a really terrible person dumping him because his cat had recently died. I blocked him. After he said that about his cat, combined with his tendency to hold on to things, it really makes me wonder what that smell actually was. Let's hope not, and though I hope he gets help, let's not meet again. Edit. I found from a mutual friend that his sister had passed away 10 years prior. He had those... Okay, there's gotta be something growing in that pillowcase. I'm sorry. Edit 2. I forgot to mention this, but he was strangely turned on while I was using a nebulizer with my inhaler. He said his sister had one of those. I'm 100% sure this turned him on. Edit number 3. I'm pretty sure he uses Reddit, and I didn't know this post was going to get this popular, so I'm kind of scared now, but oh well. Edit number 4. Golden Girls was on the whole time I was over. Don't know why I forgot to mention this. And then it cracked me up because I skimmed through this one earlier. I saw the part about it smelling really bad, and I was like, oh shit, okay, I have to read this. And somebody commented, they were like, I don't know why I expected the black binder to be a list of girls he had killed or something. And he was like, also he had every episode of Golden Girls printed out like a book. I ask you because he read it at work. They were like, yeah, it's like the scripts are printed out. That's fucking weird. Read a real book. But let's read the next one. This one says, "Let me taste you, Tinder stalker." This one just made me uncomfortable from the title. I haven't even skimmed this one yet. They said, "I should make it clear from the beginning, I've not always had the best taste in men, but we'll get that out of the way now. After a split from my husband and being hit on by the worst of the worst, my friends and I thought it would be funny for me to sign up for Tinder as a social experiment of sorts. At least then I could control the men who talk to me as well as provide my friends with hilarious screenshots. I will add, Tinder isn't all bad. I met my fiance on the app. You win some, you lose some. I met a man named Jason, who seemed intelligent, witty, and had a successful career. After talking for a while, I agreed to meet up with him for coffee. I hate coffee. That's my thing too, is whenever people are like, do you want to go grab coffee? I'm like, no, I'm just gonna shit my pants afterwards and I'm gonna be really jittery. Doesn't sound like fun. He was attractive and seemed very attentive. It was a nice date and we made plans to meet up again for sushi. The next week we met for sushi, and after what I thought was a good date, he suggested we went back to his apartment to watch some documentaries. I'm a sucker for documentaries, and he didn't seem like a serial killer, so I agreed. As we sat on his couch, he turned on an obscure documentary about some musician from the 50s, which I was fine with, but I noticed he kept staring at me. Now, attention can be flattering, or it can be downright creepy. Unfortunately, his attentiveness fell under the latter category. After a few minutes of actively ignoring him staring at me, completely out of nowhere said, "Can I taste you?" What the fuck does that mean? I've always been a fan of serial killer documentaries, and I was pretty sure this may have been one of Dahmer's pickup lines, so I politely declined and noped the fuck out of there. At the time I was creeped out, but chalked it up to a good failed Tinder date story. Here's where things get really weird. As if him asking to taste you wasn't weird enough. He soon asked me on another date, and although in my mind I wanted to scream that I would rather be waterboarded than spend more time with him, I politely explained that due to going through a divorce, it was not good timing and I truly wasn't ready to date anyone. We were not friends on social media, so I didn't think it was a huge deal. A month or so later, I met the man who I would eventually become engaged to, again via Tinder, and didn't give a second thought to Jason. After a few months, there were pictures of my now fiance and I on Facebook and Instagram. Around this time, my fiance, who I'll call G, received a text message from a strange number claiming to be one of his female friends. It was a very strange message and basically propositioned him to come have sex. He knew this was out of character for his friend, as she knew he was dating somebody, so he immediately messaged the friend and asked if she had sent the message. She, of course, had not, and he didn't think much of it. I own my own house, so after about 6 months, G had moved in with me. His friend fell upon hard times, so we welcomed her to our house to stay with us until she was able to find an apartment. She began receiving messages on Instagram calling her an ugly troll, a slut, and making various other remarks. Around this time, we had noticed a white car had been sitting outside of our house periodically. I live in a very rural area, and there's no parking on the street. About twice a week, we would see this white vehicle. At first, I thought it might have been my ex-husband or somebody that we knew. Again, it was not a good split. Maybe a month later, G received a message on Instagram telling him he would never be good enough for me, he was a terrible boyfriend, and that if he hurt me, this person would hurt him. He text messaged me from work asking if I'd received any strange messages and let me know something kind of weird had happened. I let him know that I had not and asked him what was going on. He sent me screenshots of the messages, and I noted that the person who had sent them was also following me on Instagram. I looked at the profile, and the only people he had followed were men who commented on my photos or females who followed G. Once I knew about all the messages received from both G and his friend, I started to panic about the white car that would watch the house. We literally live across the street from a cornfield. There's never any reason for anybody to be sitting outside of our house who we don't know. After all of this came to light, I couldn't think of who might have created a fake profile to bully people who I was involved with, but I saw even the fake name was Jason. When he explained the strange text messages and his friend divulged the messages she had received, I was still struggling to figure out who might be doing this. I went through all my social media, and on Snapchat I found that Jason was following me. I'd never given him my last name, so I'm still not sure how he was able to find me. He was the only person who fit the situation, and the rude messages continued throughout the day. I knew that Jason worked as a tech developer and would have the know-how to create a fake phone number and seek out my information. On top of going through a nasty divorce, I also have 2 small children. As soon as G sent a message to Jason conveying that the police would not be happy with someone harassing a woman with 2 small children, all the messages and communication stopped. Creepy Jason from Tinder. Let's not meet again. That's the shit that freaks me out too, honestly, because you never know how far these people will go. I kept getting the last story and this one mixed up too, like they were just mashing together in my brain. So I was like, damn, this is like even more fucked up than it actually is, but it's still pretty fucked up. Okay, then this is the last one I'm gonna read. This one just says, Tinder horrible experience. True. They said, this isn't one of my paranormal experiences at the local port, but it still creeps me out when I think about it. A lot of spooky shit happens to me for some reason, but that's beside the point. Last year, 2018, was a very busy year for me, meaning that I had little to no time to date or meet any girls. I like that they prefaced it with like, I have a lot of spooky shit happen to me, paranormal stuff, but this is not one of them, because I'm not kidding, this shit creeps me out I think more than ghosts do, like more than the paranormal, more than the unknown. These psychopaths exist in this world. Like I could have someone living next door to me who acts like this. I could have someone next door who has his sister's blood on his sheets. Due to my busy schedule, I decided to make a Tinder account. I have never had any experiences with such app or online dating, and I didn't actually plan on meeting up with a random girl to go on a blind date or anything. Just wanted to see what the fuss was about, and if that shit actually worked. So the app still being something new to me, I matched with this really pretty girl. She seemed short, light-skinned, and had a nice smile. Her account wasn't a catfish or any sort of fake profile. It seemed genuine and legit. Anyways, I know I didn't actually want to hit it off with any girls in this manner. She was very hot, and I said fuck it. So I slid into her DMs with a simple hey. A couple of hours went by, and we got each other's Snapchat users and phone numbers. We exchanged Snapchat photos, so with that said, there's no way that her Tinder account was fake. I felt better knowing that for some reason. She said she lived in a city about 25 to 30 miles north of mine. I had nothing planned for the next day, and neither did she, so we declared to meet up at her house the next day to mess around. Getting kinky up in here. The next day came by, and we planned to meet up at around 10:30 p.m. The neighboring city where she was from was about a 30 to 45 minute drive from my place, so around 10 p.m.-ish, I decided to start driving over. As I'm driving over, I get a phone call from her, telling me to instead go over at a later time, around midnight. I didn't mind, since I had friends who live in her city, so I paid them a visit and waited for her. 11:45 rolled by, and I started to drive to her place. My friends didn't know what I was up to, they just thought I popped in to visit them randomly. So this girl sends me her address, and at first the address she had sent me led me to an upper class suburban neighborhood. I reached the address and it was close to what I would describe as a white mansion. I called her to tell her I was parked on her driveway, and I asked her to come outside so I could assure myself I was at the right place. She said, I don't see you. Are you sure you followed the directions? Well, to avoid any more fuck-ups, she just sent me her current location through iMessage. At first I found it odd, but I followed the directions to the location anyways. So midnight rolled by, and I was on my way to her current location, which was actually kind of far from the address she had originally sent me. As I'm driving, the directions are telling me to drive off the path and onto a dirt road surrounded by cornfields. This is like a horror movie. Seriously. This spooked me a little because I was now in the middle of nowhere. I was about 10 minutes away from civilization. See ya, voice. I was 10 minutes away from civilization. Red flags started going off in my head, but I ignored them because there's was no way that her account could have been a setup. I'd seen her pictures on Snapchat, and you can't Photoshop those as far as I'm aware. So after driving through a dark-ass dirt road through cornfields, the directions led me to a broken-down old house. It looked uninhabitable. There were no cars outside or in the driveway, and the only light I saw on was the porch light. I would turn around and leave immediately. I call this girl to tell her I'm outside. She replies with, "Okay, I'll be right out." On a side note, I'm a pretty big dude and I train every day. I'm not intimidated by others. But there are some situations where you're helpless and have no option but to evade for the fear of your life. See, I have the opposite problem because I'm a tiny little girl and somebody could pick me up and just run, so I can't be doing this shit. So I'm waiting by my car and I see this figure come out the front door. It was dressed like a fucking nun. Black veil, long black dress, voodoo charms, and she's also holding a fucking voodoo doll in her left hand. I was pretty spooked out, but I thought it was just a prank. Who pranks somebody like the first time they meet them? That's just actually, oh my god, actually I have a funny story because I kind of did something similar. I didn't dress like a nun or anything. Paige and I wanted to film a cooking video with 2 Tinder guys. So Paige invited these 2 guys over. I was just like in the background, I was just there. So we had 2 of our guy friends go outside and meet them, and they were like, "Hey, I'm Paige, hey, I'm Courtney." And like they knew they were coming over to film, so they just thought it was some like dumb prank. And then Paige and I came out, we were like, "Just kidding." But I felt really bad because I cannot prank people and I can't lie to people without just like feeling absolutely terrible. I'm like, they're probably so embarrassed, they're probably so mad. So I go out there and I was like, "I'm just kidding, I'm Courtney." But yeah, no, I did that. But I wouldn't dress as a nun and prank someone like that. I wouldn't try to scare the shit out of somebody by pranking them. You know what I mean? I gave it a few seconds for the cameras to pop out, but the person just stood there. I slowly started to realize that this wasn't a prank because a few seconds later, I saw another figure in a similar black outfit peeking out of a door and starting to make a run towards me with a fucking machete. Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. Dude, Tinder needs to get their shit together. They need to get these people off this app. I don't even bother trying to fight back because I knew I was probably going to end up getting gutted or skinned alive by these fucking psychos. I immediately jumped in the car and floored the fuck out of there. I heard a gunshot a few seconds later behind me. I'm in my car screaming prayers with tears in my eyes because I was hoping to drive away with my life. Her number then kept calling me as soon as I left. I blocked it, and then another number started to call me, and I blocked it as well. I ended up staying at my friend's house that night. I explained everything that took place, and he wanted to go check it out together with our group of friends. That's a horrible idea! But I was too terrified to even go back there. I called the police, and they went to go check it out, but the place was abandoned by the time they got there. They said that the address had been vacant for years, and they simply made a report out of it. They were never found. I can't believe how little the police are willing to do, seriously. Like, you have her phone number, you have 2 phone numbers, you have an address that she gave, you have 2 addresses that, okay, bitch, you got 2 phone numbers, you got 2 addresses, and you have her Tinder profile, and you have her Snapchat. Like, what? You have so much that they could go off of. That's crazy that they did nothing. The whole thing was a sick setup to begin with. The girl was planning on luring me so they could do God knows what to me. I deleted my Tinder account. I'm pretty sure it works if you're only looking to get laid, but I somehow had the worst luck of all time. Don't ever meet a stranger somewhere that isn't public. Shit can always go sideways. And then somebody actually commented there was a killer in Canada who did this to guys. They would lure them into his garage and say things like, "Come inside, I'm just finishing getting ready." Then he would use a stun gun to incapacitate them before killing them. Then he would use the guy's phone to text people saying, "Headed out of town for a few weeks, talk to you when I'm back." The only reason they caught him is because the guy who went missing basically live texted his friends on his way there, so the out of town text piqued their suspicion. Always tell people where you're going. Big dude, small girl, or somewhere in between. Oh my god, wait, there's so many comments about this. Someone else said there was one killer, I can't remember the details or what country, but if not mistaken, it was somewhere in America. Anyways, he would use gay dating apps and do the same shit. Oh wait. Oh yeah, that was like the same thing that somebody just said, "Just kidding." I was thinking too that I wanted to get back on Tinder, not to date people, but for YouTube videos. But this makes me want to do it even less because I have met like a couple people who, like, I can't say that I'm interested in them because they're just attractive and kind of funny, but people I'm like, you know what, you're kind of cute, I'm gonna talk to you normally instead of talking to you like I'm making a video. And then like I said, I've met 2 people because I met the guy for Paige's video and then I met one other guy who I've like literally never spoken to again. But I'm very lucky that he did not kill me. Seriously. He was way bigger than me and he came over at 9. Okay, I've done stupid shit, okay? I'm an adult. I let this man into my apartment. I'm very lucky. I was wasted. Like where I'm at now, I would never trust to give my address to any man that I didn't know personally. Like if I met someone on Tinder, we just texted and stuff, I'd be like, yeah, no, I can't with the strange people, dude. But I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't know why I freak myself out like this. I don't know why I like this shit because it genuinely terrifies me. But if you want more, let me know. These are literally just let's not meet stories, but like a Tinder category. So it's like we got a category inside of a category, a subcategory, if you will. Again, I'll have all those stories linked down below. I'll try to find the first one that I talked about, and then I'll put like the trailer for the Poughkeepsie tape so you guys can see what that's about. I feel like a lot of you will probably know what that is, but I'll have it down there anyways. But I'm gonna go. I love you guys. I will see you in the next one. Bye. If my air conditioning is annoying throughout this whole video, I'm gonna be angry. I'm gonna be very angry because I told you guys I gotta turn it off and my fan is on too. I did both. This is like an experimental video to see how fucking annoying my fan and my air conditioning could possibly be. So we'll see. Also, I'm only gonna have 2 videos next week, just so you know, because I work a lot next week. I was gonna say that at the beginning of the video, but if you made it here, then you're gonna be the only people who know. Probably have 2 videos. Okay, all right, see ya.